This broadcast is the property of Codependents Anonymous. Reproduction without written permission from Codependents Anonymous is not permitted.
Can everyone hear me well?
Very well.
I can hear you, David. Can you hear me all right?
Absolutely, Jim. Hear you very well. Welcome,
Yes.
everyone, to this August meeting of the Fellowship Forum. The topic for today's forum is being willing, step 8. And we have a speaker to introduce the topic for us today, Jim Kay. And I will turn the meeting over to Jim. And thank you, Jim, for being here to be a presenter.
Thank you, David. This week's topic is to become willing as part of step 8. And I wanted to share some of my become willing moments in my life. I'll start out with made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. As a codependent, I carry the scars and wounds of my codependent life before recovery. The 12 steps were inspired by a group of people with a common problem. They started meeting for mutual support and to, with God's help, become willing. The same willingness or desire is what connects me to my higher power. The hard part is becoming willing part. My daughter died on December 18th, 2015. It took me until March of 2016 to become willing to ask for help and tried a 12-step program. After joining CoDA, it took 14 months before I admitted that my life had become unmanageable. I acknowledged that I could not do it alone. I left home and I got an apartment. That is when I became willing to turn my will and my life over to this power that is greater than I am. From that day until this, with the help of my higher power, I try to become willing one day at a time. I attended the CoDA Service Conference at the end of July. I believe I witnessed some kind of a miracle. I have been separated from about one half the population. I went to an all-boys high school and I worked at a trade that was all men. I was taught that women were people who could not understand normal thinking. They were always talked about as if they were others. When changing men and women to people came up last year, I thought it was outrageous to mix these others in with the men. It was unthinkable to me. I had denied this resentment, which caused my resistance, and I did not want to change. New business had been taken out of the schedule, and I didn't see any way it could come up. I thought I was safe. But then a young member from Arizona made a motion to put the new business back in, and it passed. And then they made a motion to replace men and women with people. At that moment, I became willing, and my mind changed. And I have been thinking about that ever since. I always tried to think of the others as spiritual beings, having a human experience. I was trying to be magnanimous, but this has shined the light on the denial of my resentments. Finally, my message for today came together. I woke up and I realized I could not forgive all the people on my list. What I was missing was my higher power. I had just witnessed an entire conference become willing to accept one and the other in 1 year. I see the root of many people's problems. Many men resent women and many women resent men. In 1 year, I saw this change accepted, not just in our fellowship, but in others as well. The willingness to change was enormous. The amends, well, that will take some time. And this type of privilege can be insidious. I think of fraternities and sororities. This healing process will take time, acceptance, forgiveness, and love. Become willing. When I started in my recovery journey, I could only imagine. And now I must become willing. I must become willing to change again. My wife said to me, you're hard to talk to. While despite everything, I still listen for that one kernel of truth in people's words. I realized I can be hard to understand, and I must be willing to become more explicit in my communication and convey the way I feel. And this can be very important when I make my amends. When the pandemic hit, we were looking for big containers of hand sanitizers, and then the church was closed, and we were left without a place to have our meeting. I was alone in my apartment, and I did not know anything about Zoom, screen sharing, breakout rooms, or webinars. But I became willing, and with my higher power's help, our meeting went on. I am codependent, and I did need to be needed to have this relationship. I had lost my position as higher power in my home, so I needed to be needed. But as time went on, I got lonely in my apartment by myself. This was when my process of self-forgiveness took place. I would get on my bike 2 or 3 times a week, and I would ride to the next town. It was about 5 miles away. I thought about my family a lot, so I listened to my heart. And after 3 years, I became willing to go back. My son got into rehab, and my wife and I have found new stability despite our challenges. I wake up every day, I meditate, I read affirmations, and I become willing to do my higher power's will for me that day. I went out to breakfast with my son last Sunday, and he's living in a halfway house and attending AA meetings. We did not offer amends, but I think we are becoming willing. There are many mysteries here, and my journey proceeds. And as my journey proceeds, the puzzles become clear. When I came here, I had no friends, and now I have many. The process of mending and making amends will take patience and time as the past comes floating up in my heart, and for my friendships to become fulfilling and meaningful. I'm beginning to learn how to give in a good and healthy way. And I know that I will have to learn to take from these relationships too, but in a healthy and loving way. When I showed up, I was covered in wounds, scars, lumps, and bumps. All those hurts and resentments were weighing me down. When I started to forgive myself, my family, and other people, I began to see the lesson in all my wounds. My amends began to happen as my bandages fell away and my injuries were exposed to this new light of day. Or sometimes the bandages would get torn off without warning, and I remembered the painful lesson it was meant to bring. I am like a bush, like a rose bush, and my higher power carefully considers where to prune and then snip. What is healthy remains, and I must let go of what is not. The cut heals, the bush remains healthy and brings even more flowers. So of course I have scars, but now they make me stronger. I just had one last thing to read that I got at the conference. And that was the longer serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Grant me the patience with the changes that take time, appreciation of all that I have, tolerance of those with different struggles, and the strength to get up and try again one day at a time. Thank you for letting me read, and I'll pass.
Thank you, Jim, for presenting the topic today. A reminder that this meeting is being recorded that this session is being recorded and that these recordings do get posted on the CoDA website. Links to the fellowship form recordings and other information about CoDA is posted in the chat. Please leave your cameras off for the duration of this meeting and stay on mute unless you are speaking. We are now open for sharing on today's topic. Please keep your shares to 3 minutes. Jim, can you be a spiritual timekeeper for us today?
Yes, I can do that, David.
Thank you, Jim. Gail, I see your hand up, please.
Hi, my name is Gail, and I am a recovering and grateful codependent. Willingness. First off, thank you for Jim for sharing his personal story. I find personal stories very helpful to be able to connect and understand. And for me, willingness, I was raised in a family that willingness was not part of our vocabulary. As children, we were told what to do or what not to do, but it was never about our choice, my choice. And I unfortunately was raised with a father figure who was never willing to see anyone else's point of view or way of doing things. It was his way or the highway, as he used to put it. And until we moved out of his home, as he put it, we needed to follow his rules and regulations and never have a voice, never have an opinion, never buck the system. And, willingness for me, sometimes I have to go to a place of I'm willing to be willing to be willing. I can't get right to the I'm willing or I'm willing to be there. I've got to go through those layers and levels because I sometimes have this place of resistance that doesn't make any conscious sense. And I am so grateful that the 12-step programs, first starting with AA and then with all the programs that came after that program, I am so grateful that this concept of we can't do this alone. This is a we program. And I need meetings. I need recovery friends. I need a sponsor. I need individuals that I can trust from this program that will be real with me. Sometimes even question my thinking. Sometimes question my motives so that I can get unstuck, be willing to see things from a different perspective. And that's one of the things I love about, I didn't hear about this group conscious process until I came into CoDA World Service. And it is such a delightful process because through that group conscious decision-making where everyone has a voice, I get to hear other people's perspectives. It's not all mine, or it's not all in my mind, my father's. And I get to hear different perspectives. And I'm always amazed at the outcome when this process happens, whether it's within a CoDA meeting or intergroup or World Service or whatever, I'm always amazed at the miracles that happen where people's eyes and minds specifically are opened up to different possibilities and different ways of thinking. And it's such a glorious experience when I get to be there for that. So I thank you so much for this topic and for reminding me that I need to remain willing, even if for the moment I'm willing to be willing to be willing. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing, Gail.
Thank you for sharing.
We are open for sharing on the topic, today's topic, willing, step 8, being willing. And of course, we're asking people keep their shares to 3 minutes, but you can share again. We have time, I'm sure. If everyone gets a chance to share, that everyone that wants to share does get a chance to share. I'm sure we'll most likely have time for second shares. And we are open for sharing on that topic. Step 8, being willing.
Hi, this is Marilee. I'm covering codependent.
Hi, Marilee. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your share and this topic. And the piece that I'm thinking about right now is the whole concept of what it means to be willing. The underlying understanding is that there's something about me that can be changed, that to be willing is to be open. And for that, there's, for me, an assumption that an improvement is possible and desirable. It could be an improvement in what I do or how I think, or being more conscious. It could be a willingness to try something new, and it may or may not be something that I want to continue, but being willing to be open to trying something different, to exploring. And so it for me, the willingness assumes I want to say a level of humility, that my way isn't the only way, and certainly not necessarily the best way. And sometimes I think about being willing as not Was I muted intentionally? This is Marilee. And I don't know when I got muted. So I thank you for the opportunity to share.
Marilee, this is Jim. I was muting Jennifer and I hit the wrong button, and then I couldn't get off mute to reply to you. But you still have 20 seconds on your time.
Okay, well, thank you. I think with that 20 seconds, I want to say that I am willing to allow the imperfections that exist in the world to be the exact thing that should be happening in the world, and that I get to hold no resentments. And with that, I'll pass.
Thank you for your share, Marilee. We're open for shares, 3-minute shares on today's topic, to be willing, being willing. Hello, everyone. My name is David. I'm a codependent, and I'm so grateful to be here today. I had a lot of trouble with the concept of being willing. It just eluded me. No matter how I approached it, I just couldn't figure it out. At some point in my process, I decided that, I kept wondering, how will I know when I'm willing? What is this willing all about? And how do I get there? What is being willing mean to me? And I struggled with it. And at some point in my recovery process, I decided that the trouble I was having was I was looking at being willing as an action. And things changed for me when I decided that to be willing was a state of mind. I didn't have to do anything to be willing. I had to allow the process to occur. I had to get right-sized. I had to learn to let go. I had to learn how to make amends to myself and the people around me, and not expect anything to not have an expectation of something happening because I was making amends. It was the making of amends that was all I needed to learn to do. These are the things that I began to understand in this program, and over time, being willing happened for me. I knew I was willing because the changes that the program promised me that would happen or didn't promise me, but the changes that are spoken of in the steps and promises that would occur when I became willing began to happen without any effort on my part. Then I knew I must have become willing. I didn't have to put any special energy into the being willing. I had to apply my program of the Serenity Prayer, learning to accept myself, being honest with myself about who I am, what I want, how I feel, and to be honest with the people around me, not to hold anyone accountable for what I think, how I feel, be able to express my feelings without an expectation of anything happening because I'm expressing my feelings. They're just my feelings.
It's time, Dave.
To be able to say them. Thank you. Pass. We are open for shares on today's topic, being willing.
Oh,
Catherine.
Catherine's.
Yeah, yep, I got it. Thank you, Jim. Catherine, welcome. Please.
Thank you. I'm pretty new to CoDA. I am familiar with the 12-step programs. The 8th step, correct me if I'm wrong, and you're talking about willingness, that's only part of the step. It's about making amends. I know I'm extremely codependent because I came from a very dysfunctional family, and everyone before me came first, pretty much to the point where I didn't exist. And I see today that I had shared with David earlier that I've seen that I'm very codependent with my adult children. And this is why, because I'm in recovery, this is why I needed to come to a CoDA come into CoDA, because it seems to be part of my recovery. When I think about making amends, the first thing that came into my mind, because I'm codependent, is that, well, I have to make amends to everybody I've ever met or come across or in my family. And then I realized through recovery that I needed to put me at the top of the list, because being codependent, I really did a number on myself, trying to please, be a people pleaser, be a doormat. And I just, recovery is taking care of yourself and learning to take care of yourself, which was kind of so foreign to me growing up in the home that I did. So I am making amends to myself in the process of doing that. And that's pretty much, I think I said that this is why I'm here. But I know I had to make amends to my adult children, because without knowing it or realizing it, because of the disease, part of the disease being denial, that I thought if I did this and didn't do what my parents did, I would be okay. I didn't realize that when I started to have my children, that's not the way it works. Unless you get recovery before you have children, you're going to do the same things without even knowing it. And this is what this is the results of many years of dysfunction. So what's happened to me, and I read somewhere that codependency is actually self-hate, and that's why we put everybody else first, so they will love me. I put everyone else first because if I do for them and I love them and blah 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 blah, they will love me.
3 minutes.
Okay, that's all. Thank you. I'll pass.
Thank you for your share, Catherine. We are open for 3-minute shares on today's topic, being willing. if you have shared and would like to share again, feel free to take a second share.
Yeah, hello, I'm Glenn and I'm codependent.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi, Glenn. Welcome.
Hey, you guys, thank you for this. So when I received your email, I wasn't sure exactly what the topic was, until now, of course. So I just thought at first glance that the topic was willing to do what? Willing to grow, willing to move forward, willing to love, and so on. So now that I know it's on step 8, I will try to kind of improvise on this now. So making amends, actually, in the past, being a codependent, I never knew. I had a lot of problems, there's some serious issues why I had so much anger towards someone or myself. How can I be so loving and supportive when I'm upset or angry at someone? So I'm in recovery. I'm actually recovered. I have to say that I'm not perfect, but I think I'm recovered. And how I learned this when I learned about CoDA and its 12 steps, I read them. And because I'm a problem solver, I'm in the industry as a producer and also have a background in science. I always think things out methodically and creatively, keeping things simple. So when I read the 12 steps, I was like, okay, what does this all mean? 9 of them basically had to do with the divine. The last 3, or of the 12, 3 of them had to be of make amends. So it's like, so giving, surrendering to a power much greater than yourself, number 1. And the second component was forgiveness, making amends. So I looked at that. I said, okay, that's kind of easy. I do have faith in God. And if my mind is clear and I love myself, then I could make an amends and forgive. That's how I handled it. So I said, what are the root causes here now? So I went deep into my inner child to see what was onsetting these unmanaged adult behaviors. So, when I went deep, I knew it was just these emotionally based behaviors that's onsetting these unmanaged adult behaviors, which is codependency. I literally did some serious work on myself, meditated and prayed 60 days straight for 12-hour days, getting to the root causes of my issues so I can easily forgive and make amends. So once I did that, all of these things started to subside and it became effortless as I had become to behave in a way that I was becoming more loving and supportive towards others and myself. So making an amends is pretty easy. If I get in an argument with my kids or a sibling or a client or whatever it is, I squash it immediately. Listen to them. They listen to me. We resolve things. Boom, done. It's over. No longer throwing it under the rug and turning into repressed emotions. That causes all of these problems. So I finally figured it out.
That's 3 minutes.
Thank you. And 10 more seconds. And I feel that I'm in recovery. That's how I did it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Glenn.
You're welcome.
We still have time for shares on the topic to be willing. The word willing appears frequently throughout this program, not just in step 8. Being willing, open to the possibility of another way. If I'm not open to the possibility of doing things another way, I'm going to keep doing the same thing I've been doing over and over again. I have to be open to the possibility of another way if I want to recover. Being willing.
Hi, everyone. If I can share.
Hi, Jennifer. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer, and I'm a grateful, recovering codependent. And thank you so much for creating this space for us to share today. And willingness and willing. I guess I didn't know there was another way until I found adult children of alcoholics. Even before then, I actually had a life coach that I spoke to. She was really the first person that I spoke to that got a little bit deep with me. And she recommended Melody Beattie's book of Codependent No More. And that's where I learned about being codependent. And I had no idea what this was or what it meant. And I've been in my adult children of alcoholics program for about a year. I've been attending CoDA meetings for about 3 months, I would say. And I can see how much I need this program, how self-sabotaging I can be, how mean I can be, how destructive I can be. And I don't want to live that life anymore. I don't want to do the same things that I've been doing, and I am willing to make those changes. Um, become willing to make amends to people we've harmed. I think I'm so scared. Right now, I'm so scared of that step. But I know that with time and with patience and my higher powers help, I'll reach that step and I'll make amends to the people that I have hurt. I guess I'm at this point where I'm just really embarrassed at how I've carried myself, and it's just kind of really hard to swallow it and to accept it and to make those amends. But again, I've been in this program. I see how much I've changed so far. In some people's eyes, it hasn't been a change, but I'm not dependent on them to tell me how I feel and where I am in my recovery, because I know very well that they aren't in a recovery program. And it specifically my mother, I mean my forget the word, but the reason, I guess, why I'm here, I am still very codependent with her and my father, and I'm learning to not to be, and to remove that enmeshment that that we've created with each other, and to create a healthy space and to create a more healthy relationship. And thank you so much for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing, Jennifer. And Catherine has her hand up. Please, Catherine.
Yes, hi, again. I wanted to add what I talked about, me, putting myself on that list first. I did make amends to my adult children, but amends is, the word amends means to alter something. So I knew that I had to alter my behavior also. What I have did and what I failed to do, and I have done that with my children. However, unfortunately, because they've been affected by the dysfunctions of my family of origin and myself, there's a lot of anger, and all I can do is change my behavior or amend my behavior towards myself, where turning that self-hate into self-love. I know I'm codependent on my children because I've never felt good about myself. So this is where I'm at today. Now I have the chance to do that, to learn to love myself, to learn who I am, and to realize that all those things that I heard back in my childhood, they were all lies. they were lies. They were lies from people that were not healthy. They had their own issues. They had their own problems from their childhoods, and there was no recovery. So that's why I'm in recovery. And thank you for letting me share again. And thank you for this meeting. I'll pass.
Thank you for your share, Catherine. We have time for one more share, and then I'll open the meeting for questions and comments.
Hi, David. My name's Jim, and I'm codependent.
Hi, Jim.
Let
Welcome.
me start my time here. When I came to CoDA, I was isolated, alone, and abused. And my world was so small. But what I didn't realize was that that was my world. That's all I knew. And then once I started going to meetings and meeting people, my world started to get bigger. And then I went to one of the conferences, and I thought, my God, this whole place is full of these people, these wonderful people. But my world just kept growing, and that's why my world was so small, and I did not understand. And that's why when I left and did my 3 years in CoDA, and I had my apartment, I started to understand all my sickness and all my problems. And it wasn't my family's fault. You know, of course, it was their world too. But I realized it was my fault. It was the things that I was doing. So I had to make amends to myself, and I had to make amends to them and all that. But in the bargain, this world that I live in, it exploded. It got so large and so amazing. I had, like I said, I had no friends. And when I came to CoDA, I have as many friends as I can handle. And life is so good now. My wife is mentally ill, and she's good days and bad days, but I understand now. When she hollers at me, it's not forever anymore. She'll be okay tomorrow. And I just want to express my gratitude and let everybody know that it's real and it works. And with that, I'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Tim. We have time for a short share if someone feels a pressing need to share on today's topic, being willing. Or else we can just open the meeting for questions and comments. You can unmute your mic and just shout out a question or a comment. Questions and comments are welcome. I don't promise any answers, but certainly interested in any questions you might have. If no one has any questions or comments and you would like to share some more, we can do that. The fellowship forum meets on the last Saturday of each month. Next month's meeting, September's meeting, will be on September 25th at 12 noon Pacific time, 1 p.m. Mountain time, except for most of Arizona, which does not observe daylight saving time, 2 p.m. Central time, and 3 p.m. Eastern time. The topic for next month's meeting will be intentions, actions. My intentions and my actions. What is it I want to achieve? What am I doing? And how does that help me achieve my intention? I'm not hearing any questions or people who want to share. So I'll take a group conscience. Is it okay if I close the meeting? We can stay on longer after the close for fellowship. Is there any objection to closing the meeting now?
No objection.
We'll close the meeting with the CoDA closing prayer. We thank our higher power for all that we have
received
from this meeting. As we close, may we take with us the wisdom, love, acceptance, and hope of recovery. I will stop the recording. As soon as I figure out how to do it, there it is.